Hi, I'm Bridget Owens, tarot reader and artist, and today's card, we're starting at the beginning of the tarot deck. We're going to talk about the Fool. The Fool is the beginning of the deck, and it's all about just that, new beginnings. The keywords that I would pick for this card are beginning, adventure, and optimism. This is the first step card, and it's all about the journey that has yet to happen. And oftentimes it's a journey that you don't even have a destination for, but it's just off into the horizon. The reverse Fool is also about the beginning of a journey, but it's a journey away from something instead of a journey towards something. The three keywords I would pick for the reverse card are escapism, envy, and ungroundedness. It's the grass is greener card. It's the idea that where you are is no good and better must be out there somewhere. In the Rider-Waite deck and most other decks, it's illustrated as a fool with a pack, usually on a stick, standing on a cliff. There's usually a dog at the fool's heels, barking either in warning or encouragement, and he's looking out over a vast landscape. I drew the card much the same way, just modernized, and I wanted to make sure that the landscape that you see beyond the cliff, that the fool is gazing out upon, encompasses a wide variety of destinations. The thing about the Fool's journey is that it's somewhat into the unknown. There's no map for it, and the Fool is just stepping out optimistically on this journey to something better. And the best illustration that I can come up with from my own life is after I graduated from college and I moved out on my own. Now, a lot of people do that, but I kind of took it a step further than that, than usual. I had applied for a bunch of jobs, and none of them had panned out by graduation. So, not having a lot of money to travel back and forth between home and my dream city, I decided that the best course of action would just be to move there without a job, take the money that I had, get an apartment, where then I would be there for interviews. I could set up my life, kind of start new. I knew nobody. I was moving to Chicago and I knew nobody in the city. I had a blank slate, starting to look for a new job, had never lived completely on my own before, and just did it. And that's really it was me not just heading out on my own for the first time, it was me heading out into my adulthood. It was two phases of my life. There was a transition there, a very significant transition, and it was me sort of heading out into this process of building my own future. So that's probably the most literal fool's journey that I've ever kind of started in my life. Not every fool's journey is going to be significant, life-changing, drastic new adventures. Sometimes and most of the time, it's something much smaller. So as you do tarot readings for yourself or for other people, you'll notice the Fool comes up quite often, and you're not going to see that, represent something huge every time. A lot of times it can be something much smaller. So, for instance, opportunities that lead to kind of the unknown, ones that you are offered without any real clear map as to what that will lead to, and choosing to take them anyway. So, for example, my wife and I have an Etsy business on the side as well, and that all started with a friend asking us to vend at a Pagan Pride Day event. We didn't have a shop set up. We just had made some crafts for ourselves and some friends, and taking that opportunity was a beginning that kind of snowballed into something else. That step of going, well, we don't really have any history of doing this. We don't have any foundation. We'll just jump in and do this thing and see where it leads. That's another type of fool's journey, and one that is far more common than the big life-changing heading off into your adulthood kind of journeys. As far as other cards in the deck that are related to the Fool and might help sort of zero in on that card's energy, The first one that comes to mind, of course, is the World, whereas the Fool is the beginning of the major arcana, the World is the end. And it forms a cycle. So after the World card, you kind of expect another new beginning. They link together. So even though the Fool may not know where they're going, where they're intending to go, the World is where that ends up. And then, of course, leads to another new beginning where you don't know where the end is going to be. Another strongly related card is actually the Ace of Swords. All of the aces kind of relate to the Fool, but especially the Swords, because it's that spark of inspiration, that spark of desire, its ideas, its concepts, and that's what leads the Fool on that beginning of that journey. It's an idea of what might be out there. If you're looking for a self-improvement challenge that relates to the Fool card, I would recommend going on an adventure, finding an adventure. And it doesn't have to be something big. It doesn't have to be significant. It doesn't have to be even meaningful. But just in your day-to-day life, look for new things to do, something that's a little bit past your routine, past your comfort zone, whatever. Eat at a new restaurant. Go with a friend to somewhere that they invite you that you normally would say no to. Not just taking anything, but those things that kind of feel like an adventure to you, feel like it could be the start of something in your life, even if you're not ready for it. Just taking that step and seeing what happens. For those who journal, here's a great journal prompt for you. If today is the first day of the rest of your life, what does the start of that journey look like? If today is the start of something, the start of whatever it is that happens for the rest of your existence on Earth, how are you going to start that? If you've been sort of stagnant in your life in some way, if you're feeling that, maybe last week, that Four of Cups energy, what's the first step towards more? If you're already moving somewhere, if you already kind of have a goal and you're working towards it, if this was a breaking point in that journey, if this was a place where you stop and reevaluate, what does that next step of that next leg of the journey look like? Think about that and write about not just where you would be headed, but what that first step looks like, feels like, entails. Get really detailed about it and think about not just where you're going, but how you start today. In fact, don't think so much about where you're going. Think about how you start that journey today and tomorrow. If you'd like to dig more into tarot a little faster than one card a week, both the Feminist Tarot and a Tarot Reader's Resource Workbook, both created by me, are available at BridgetOwens.com.